How y'all doing today? There's a lot of guys here. I got to ask you, I'm going to tell you a couple quick funny stories before I start, all right, just to get us going. Did your mothers always treat you like they're little babies? Yes. Right? You're always going to be mom's little baby. The reason I'm telling you this story, my wife's out of the country right now. This is one of 2 times in 35 years of public speaking that my wife hasn't been with me. A couple years ago was the first time. I was speaking out of state. My mom was 84 at the time, lives in Florida. I was speaking somewhere else. My mom knew my wife was out of the country. She called me at the hotel where I was staying from Florida, like she's checking up on me. My wife's out of town. She goes, "Hi, baby, how you doing?" I said, "Mom, I'm doing fine. Are you okay?" She goes, "Yeah, everything's fine." I said, "What are you doing calling me? How do you know where I'm at?" She goes, "What's the difference? What are you doing this weekend?" I said, "I'm working. I'm going down. I'm giving a lecture. I got to go down in about 20 minutes. She goes, "Oh, I don't want to." This is a true story. True stories are better than jokes. She goes, "I don't want to bother you. You go down. You go down and do your lecture. You go ahead. I'll call you later. Did you shave?" I said, "Yes, Mom, I shaved. I shaved." She said, "You got a nice shirt and a clean tie on?" "Yes." "Did you comb your hair?" "Both of them, Mom. I got to go." And then she said, "Is your fly up?" She said that. I said, "What are you talking? Are you reading off a list?" And you know what she said? "As a matter of fact, your wife mailed me one before she left the country. I'm supposed to call you all 3 days before you go out in public when you're at the hotel." I wish our moms would let us grow up. All right, who's married here? Everybody married? All the women here and the guys are going to love this story. My nephew got married 2 years ago. I was the only one in the family that couldn't go to the wedding. This is true, too. I was in the hospital. I couldn't make it. And I got a phone call from my nephew on his wedding day, whispering. This is true, he was at the end of the aisle. "Uncle Steve, I'm ready to do this. I'm getting ready to walk down the aisle." I said, "What are you calling me for? The wedding started." He goes, "You're the uncle that's been married the longest. What's the best part about being married? I'm going to do this." I said, "Jeffrey, it's a no-brainer. Best part of being married is you'll never have to think for yourself again." Now, that's a true story. And he called me a couple months ago. This is true. He called me a couple months ago and said, "Uncle Steve, you remember when I called you at my wedding?" I go, "Yeah." He says, "Remember what you told me?" I said, "Of course I remember." He goes, "Man, were you right." We're going to be spending the next 45 minutes together. My name is Stephen Katkowsky, and what are we going to be talking about? The joy of owning antique vehicles, which a lot of you do, and an interesting look at how the entire family can enjoy collecting everything from antique cars to travel trailers. At the end of the seminar, I'll give you some techniques for buying antique travel trailers and cars. But before we get started, I'd like to tell you just a little bit about myself, then we'll get right into this. I've been collecting vintage cars, vehicles, and antique travel trailers for 40 years. My collections have been displayed at the Peterson Automotive Museum in Beverly Hills, California. And recently, in the last 5 or 6 years, I've had vehicles, travel trailers at various Concours d'Elegance shows, which are real high-end car shows. So that's a little bit about me. You didn't come to hear about me. You came to hear about the joy of owning antique travel trailers. Something I never thought I would have to say in front of a group. I never thought that I would have to stand up in front of a group and go, "My name is Stephen. I'm an addict." And worse than that, I got my wife involved. I got her on board, and she's an addict too. But it's not the kind of addict that you're thinking of. We are addicted to collecting everything from vintage travel trailers, cars, just about everything. And it was difficult to get her on board. But it's not going to be difficult to get your wife on board because I'm going to show you how to do it. Check this guy out. Every guy in the country should have one of these because I want to tell you something else I am. I'm an expert. Ever since I said I do, I've become an expert at saying, "Yes, dear. Yes, dear, I know. I'm sorry. Yes, dear." This is why you need one of these things. How many of you have come home from a car show or something with something and your wife yells at you, "What do you mean you brought something home again without asking me?" We all have that. This thing is voice operated, guys. You turn it on when your wife's yelling at you and you bring something home and she goes, "What do you mean? I told you not to bring anything home again.
It was all my fault.
I told you never buy anything without asking me."
I screwed up again. I don't deserve to live.
This thing here just answers everything. You never have to say anything.
How could I have never been so stupid.
All right, we've all said things like that. Well, how would you like to never have to say that to your, hear that from your wife? I'm going to show you how to do it. That's why we're here today. So you don't have to listen to that, and also to show you how with vintage cars and travel trailers, we can get your whole family included, not just the guys. Guys buy antique cars, and they think they're going to get their spouse interested in it by taking them to a car show. We've all started out doing this. You buy an antique car and you take your wife to a car show. Where is it? Out in the middle of a parking lot. It's about 150 degrees in July. You set two nice chairs down, plop a cooler down between you, and say, honey, we're going to have a good time. And you leave her sitting there to bake in the sun while you go off with your buddies talking, having a good time. Well, that's not the way to get your wife interested. That happens a lot. What about hooking your old car up to a vintage travel trailer? A lot of people don't know how popular this hobby is, but instead of a hot parking lot like this, how about taking your whole family to a state park and having a good time? If you take a close look at this picture, you got a young couple here with their brand new antique travel trailer, all restored, but you also have their parents. You got two generations. You usually don't see two generations sitting next to a car at a car show. And inside the trailer, third generation. All right? Usually the entire family can get involved. Take a look at these here pictures I'm going to show you now. This is a 1960s travel trailer with a young couple, both with a big smile. Here's another couple with a Shasta, Wing Shasta travel trailer, smiling. Here's a lady sitting where the husbands did go off at the trailer rally with their buddies, but what's she doing? She's sitting next to a beautiful trailer, all polished, reading her book, and I just noticed this, with a gallon of Jack Daniels sitting there. All right? But she's having a good time. He got her to go to the show, all right? Here you have another couple, an older couple, really enjoying, they got a 1947 Westcraft there. So every age bracket, you can have a good time with the entire family. I want to tell you a story about a friend of mine, Desmond and Lori. I didn't know these people when I first met them, obviously. Desmond races motorcycles. He talked his wife into getting what's called a toy hauler. Y'all know what a toy hauler is? It's a trailer where the back goes down. You pull your motorcycles in. It's got a side door with a shop, and in the front, there's a kitchen and a living room and a bed. Well, he made the mistake of sending his wife out to look for a toy hauler, for a trailer for him. I had this trailer for sale on eBay. This is a 1948 prototype. There's only two of them in the country. The other one got wrecked. It's not much to speak of on the outside, but the inside is all teak wood. It looks like a Chris Craft yacht. So, Lori came over, called me up, I want to see the trailer. She walks in, one step into the trailer. This is for me. I've got to get one of these. I'm going to bring my husband, Desmond, over to look at it. Well, she did about a week later. And they came over. Now, these people knew nothing about trailers. They came over, and Desmond, who also knew nothing about trailers, starts looking at it. First thing he did is kick the tires. Well, that means he doesn't know much about it. Climbed underneath the trailer. He's looking at all the wrong stuff. Goes inside, plops on the bed, comes outside and goes, well, it looks nice. What do you want for it? So I told him, and he snapped his neck at his wife. I thought he was going to break his neck. He goes, that's not what you told me. And she went nose to nose with him. If I'd have told you what he wanted, you wouldn't have come. And they stayed like that, and he looked at me, and he goes, I think I'm screwed. I said, I think so. And he looked at her, and he goes, we'll take it. All right? So, not only do they have this trailer now, they have a second travel trailer, vintage, and they're looking for a third. Desmond still races motorcycles, and they still sit in the back of his truck, because they take one of his antique travel trailers to all the motorcycle races. And I think he'll be doing that the rest of his life, because the two of them are now addicted. Now, you all folks like to travel. If you didn't, you wouldn't be on this ship. Well, how'd you like to do a different kind of cruise? All right, this is one kind. How about a cruise where you can name all your own destinations, get off whenever you want, stay as long as you want, meet just as many people, cocktail parties at the end of the day, and the food's just as good. Trailer rallies. Just like car shows, there are trailer rallies all over the United States. This rally here was in Pismo Beach, California. 250 antique travel trailers, 500 people, plus the kids. For the weekend, a long weekends, Thursday through Sunday. You don't take your wife to a car show for 5 days, 4 or 5 days. This is incredible. We have potluck breakfasts We have potluck dinners, and there's everybody. There's the kids, the grandparents, even the dogs have a good time. And everybody's getting into travel trailers. Check out this picture. You see the guy in the wheelchair there? He came to a trailer rally, bored to death, really got excited about travel trailers. He bought a vintage trailer, modified the entrance, lifts him up. He hasn't missed a rally in 2 or 3 years. Now, I'm going to tell you another funny story about a friend of mine. You get a lot of fun things happen when you're out camping. When you're at a trailer rally, everyone watches everything you do when you're getting ready to leave because we all help each other so you don't bump into somebody. This trailer belongs to a friend of mine, Steve. He had just bought it, his first trailer. When we leave the rallies, usually we're in a hurry because you've been out in the sun for 4 days. So you throw all your camping gear into the trailer, you load it all up, figure you'll straighten it up when you get home. Well, that's what Steve did, and we're all standing around waiting. He hooked his trailer up to the car like you're supposed to, went inside while his wife is watching and about 10 of us are watching, threw all his stuff in there, went to close the door, and his wife said, go inside and check and make sure everything's in there. He walked in, got past the rear tire, bingo. He forgot to hook it up to the car. The back of the trailer hit the ground. He came running towards the front. It smashed down, almost wrecked his car. And you know what? He gets to enjoy hearing about it at every rally now. So this can go be an ongoing fun experience because we will never let him live it down. Now, a question I'm always asked about antique cars and trailers. Can I tow an old trailer with my old car? Well, use your head. In 1947, when you went out and bought a travel trailer, did you go out and buy a 2010 Cadillac Escalade with a 400 horsepower motor? You bought what was available at the time. So the answer is yes. You can tow with almost any antique car. For example, here's a 40s car towing a 1936 Pierce Arrow travel trailer. Here you've got a beautiful Mercury Woody from the 40s towing a 60s Airstream. It doesn't have to match. The year doesn't have to match the trailer. Here's a good example. Yes, you can tow a trailer with a car. You've got a 1950s Volkswagen towing a teardrop trailer. I'll tell you more about teardrops a little later. Remember Lucy and Desi, the long, long trailer? That's the same year Mercury that they towed it with, only it's not a convertible, towing an old trailer. Here you got a mid-50s Chevy towing a mid-50s trailer. Same year, people paint the trailers to match the car. Here's another Woody. Here's a muscle car towing a 1930s teardrop. Here you have a station wagon towing a highly polished 1960s Airstream. Station wagons are big. A lot of them, most of them got wrecked in demolition derbies in the 50s and 60s. You find a nice station wagon now, you can't get a nicer combination than that. Maybe you can. Here's a 1937 trailer being towed by a late 30s car. Here's a very early 1920s travel trailer being towed by a 40s Buick. You know what barn find means? Barn finds are finding a car that's been in a barn for 50 years that you heard about and no one's bothered to go look for and finding it. These are the holy grail of travel trailers. The one on the right is a 1938 International with an Aero car, and this is a 1938 General Motors tow vehicle. These were made in Los Angeles, California by the Aero Car Company. These were both barn finds. The one on the right was literally found under a barn that had collapsed in Canada. It was squashed to a bug, like a bug. The guy completely restored it. It was the only one in the United States for years. A friend of mine in Kentucky called me up, says, guess what I just found? He found this one. Now this one cost a fortune to restore. Y'all looking for the thrill of the hunt is a barn find in cars and trailers. My friend found this one in that condition. All he did is wash it, and it's almost identical to that. This is the actual one that's pictured in front of the factory on every postcard that we all fight to find at a garage sale. So barn finds are still out there. These are absolutely incredible.